This is The Strategist, episode 1882. My name is Zain Velji. With me, as always, Shannon, Phillips, and Stephen Carter. Friends of August, how are you?
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Are you excited to get your ass kicked and your ass handed to you again?
What? There were some people who thought I held my own.
No, there were no people who thought you held your own.
Three people who thought I made some good points.
Do they all live within your current domicile?
No. Even on the Discord, there were people who said that. You know,
who gives a fuck?
You guys, that was a bunch of extremely last week.
Just a bunch of cucks. Just who cares about the Discord?
We all know what we need to discuss, and that's obviously the Taylor, whatever that fucking guy is.
Travis Kelce. How do you not know this?
Oh yeah, speaking of things that are one-sided.
Oh my God.
The wedding of the greatest songwriter of our generation and a football dude, Stephen Carter. You have one fact on each of them that no one else in the universe has. What are they?
What are they? Travis is the highest receiving tight end in football history.
Highest receiving. Okay, I wrote that down. Sorry, I didn't even know that was a term. Highest receiving.
Yeah, okay. And then Taylor Swift is the highest grossing female artist in all time.
Yep.
Ah, okay. That's good, Carter. And you feel like no one else knew those facts.
No, one facts aren't unknown facts.
I didn't know that.
Are singular facts that you know that enabled you to get through the conversation, right? So I know that Taylor Swift makes infinitely more money than Travis Kelce. I know.
Do you feel like either of these one facts would get you through a cocktail party if this were to be, let's say, the discussion for 20 minutes?
I also know something about the ring.
Oh, what do you know about the ring?
The ring.
Me
the
too.
Ring
I looked at the
spectacular.
pictures of the ring. That was great.
Yeah, the ring was, oh my God.
Yeah, the ring is great. Yeah. I mean,
let me tell you this.
With most money in the world, the ring should be great.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I get the hate for Travis Kelce. I do not get the hate for Taylor Swift.
I don't have a hate for either of them.
No one has hate.
Super
Carter,
care.
there's hate. There's the hate in your heart, Carter.
No, I quite like Taylor Swift. I'm a little jealous of Travis Kelce. Truth be told.
Good. Do you want to? Can we clip that? Please clip that and send it directly to one Heather McRae, who I believe will appreciate that. In fact, let's post it and tag her. I don't see any downside.
No downside
whatsoever. I don't see any downside. Well, I mean, she supported you through the last episode, which was a complete train wreck. So this will probably not have any issue on your marriage whatsoever.
Train wreck. There were people who supported me.
Carter, you were justifying at the end of that segment. You pretty much said the end justified the means.
I, in fact, did say the end justified the means.
I think that's exactly what he said.
Yeah. In fact, no, right. Sorry, it wasn't at the end. That was the core of your argument.
That was the core of my argument.
You were losing before it began. Shannon, how are you? Have you taken your victory in stride and humbly?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about it until just now. And so...
that's how often she wins. She keeps winning, Carter. She wins all the time.
Yeah, that's not what we do.
You know, I didn't want to go here. Can I pick up on this, Shannon? This will be a hard transition into politics. Who's the biggest PR loser if Air Canada flight attendants vote down this deal? So what ultimately happens is if they vote down this deal, it goes through arbitration. I don't know if that's binding arbitration. Shannon, you may have a better sense of it. I'm just headline reading here, and I'll admit that. But who's like the biggest political PR loser in this? Is it Air Canada? Is it the flight attendants? Is it CUPE again? What how does this play should these flight attendants who start voting tomorrow vote this deal down?
It's super rough for the union. Right, because if they're recommending a deal to members and members are like, no, get out of here, that means that the union leadership has misread their membership, and I'm not sure if it's binding or if it's just regular arbitration either. I'm not as up on how things work with the federally regulated industries, but the point is that like it's super rough for CUPE because then CUPE has basically lost the plot with their own members. And I doubt that will happen, to be honest. It very rarely happens. So I would think this thing will pass through.
Carter, I'll get your prediction as well, because Shannon gave me hers, but who's the biggest political PR loser if this thing doesn't pass by the membership, who ultimately, for folks, understand the union presents a deal, negotiates a deal, presents a deal, the members have to vote on it to ratify it, to make it official?
Well, I mean, political loser would have to be Mark Carney, right? Like, forget about the actual losers, who I think is who Shannon has described. I'm going to go with political loser, and the political loser is Mark Carney. He's the one who stepped in, took the political chance in order to stop this deal, and it It just didn't happen. So I would say that it's Mark Carney who's the biggest political loser.
Shannon, what do you think of that? Do you feel like Carney loses here? Like they stepped in. Carter was supportive. You can listen to that 20 minutes. But he makes an interesting point. Like Carney stepped in, I would argue prematurely. I think you and I both argued.
Not prematurely.
Prematurely.
And it's justified the means.
Yeah, sure. Probably took a bit of a shit kicking for that, at least momentarily. Do you feel like he wears any of this, Shannon, if this doesn't cross the finish line this week?
I don't know if publicly. I think it adds another proof point, though, and just another data point in terms of people are getting a raw deal out there and the government doesn't have my back. And that's the piece that's the vulnerability for Carney. We saw that in the Abacus data, the poll that they put out that they did on behalf of the union. But I think there was some other polling that Abacus did on Carney's strengths and weaknesses. And obviously his strengths, super solid on like send him out onto the world stage, negotiate with Trump, and manage the economy. All those sort of big files. But his one weakness was understands what people like me go through. And I think they're missing the mark. It might not actually stick to him at all, but it's for the labor movement, certainly. It's another proof point. And I wouldn't, a lot of people would be, oh, well, like CUPE is mostly public sector workers, yada, yada. I've heard people say stuff like that. The fact of the matter is that there are a lot of private sector workers that are counting on Carney with respect to the negotiations with the United States and with opening up new markets and so on, protecting those jobs, right? Whether it's in forestry, steel and aluminum or auto. And that's where losing the plot for him can be both policy dicey and politically dicey. But the overall narrative of like, does he get what I'm going through? The Conservatives are still stronger than him on that metric, and that's their one vulnerability.
One more thing on this, and Shannon, I'll start with you again. What can the union do tonight, heading into tomorrow when the members start voting, to try to make this a successful deal? I guess the question is fundamentally, what instruments, like help the public understand, what instruments does a labor union have on their members to push through a deal? And I'm not talking about like push it through ham-fistedly, but like what's their persuasion technique? What tools do they have? What do they normally do in this situation? Because it might be a bit of a black box to the public between now and when the results come in. But what is the union doing tonight, tomorrow, heading into this voting period? What do you think?
I mean, they're not doing a whole lot right now, but what they have been doing is communicating to members what the deal entails. Right? Because even that, for a large membership like this, you're going to need to do a little bit of that. And what happens if you vote no, right? That's usually what, like, it's usually a pretty crisp, straightforward message because, while, the bargaining team is recommending the deal, they're not like out there selling in the same way that we think of political marketing and selling.
There's no earned media play. There's no media relations play here. This is entirely internal, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And basically they're saying like, if we vote this down, here's why we accepted this deal, essentially. And if we vote this down, here's what happens. The next steps are X, Y, and Z. And basically, you're super taking your chances. And all of the things that we did win, and sometimes it's non-monetaries, and sometimes it's other things. Like they ask people to kind of consider the whole deal, right? And if we have to go back to the drawing board, then we're opening up the agreement for all of these other things that were kind of settled out when we got down to the unpaid work or whatever the sticky points were. And so oftentimes they'll just be educating members like, look, we won all this stuff. And we go way back to way before the strike vote. Like we start at square one again, and that really, really sucks. And there's huge downsides for doing it. And that's why we accepted this deal, even if you're not super jazzed about all of the aspects of that deal.
Strategist Stephen Carter, there is a timeline, there's an opponent, there's a threshold for what success looks like. This sounds like the world of a strategist in some ways. We talk about most of this being internal. We talk about, and Shannon, I appreciate that. But I will also say I expected that answer in some degree, right? Like pretty conventional. This is inside baseball. You push through the messaging. You're not doing anything to ruffle feathers. Carter, should they though? Or is this is the conventional approach the right approach here? Or is there some strategic marketing innovations that a union should consider as they try to encourage, ever so lightly, but perhaps not so, their members to vote this deal? Because I tend to agree with Shannon that it's potentially CUPE that wears egg on their face should this thing not pass and ratify in the next number of days.
I was talking with a labor organizer last week, and they were talking about how, what happens if they endorse a political candidate. If they endorse a political candidate, it almost works 180 degrees in the opposite direction, right?
So say that again. You mean if this is a union, this is not related to this situation, right?
We're going to vote for Rachel Notley, right? Back in the day, we're going to vote for Rachel Notley.
Surprise pick.
She's
Didn't know that's where they go. Wow.
The membership loses their shit, and they say, "You don't tell us what to do. You're not the boss of us. We're going to vote the way we want to vote," and it may even have a negative impact. And I suspect that if CUPE were to take a sales-focused, sell the membership on this deal, you'd have the very same type of negative backlash. The best you can do is to say, this is what it is. This is what happens if it doesn't go through. Very non-committal, very much non-sales focused. And that way you're not putting your thumb on the scale, because if you put your thumb on the scale, they're going to see and they're going to overreact.
Is there any room for your boy Carney to put his thumb on the scale, Carter? I mean, he went halfway. Why not go all the way? I'm being facetious, but isn't the logical extension of Mark Carney triggering, binding arbitration to kind of not have the politics of this sour on him?
No, I think that there's lots of room to let this unfold as it was going to. There's no reason for Mark Carney to get more involved. He's off. Negotiating peace, world peace in Europe. Let him do that. That's a far more productive use of his time than labor peace here. And really, I mean,
world peace, Carter. Oh, is that what we're saying he's doing? Okay.
Why not? Shannon said something earlier about the labor movement, and I was just like, oh no, the labor movement in Canada is mad at me. Oh no, that's going to have real impact for about 7 minutes. It just isn't the same as it once was.
If that were the case, Carter, then Pierre Poilievre wouldn't be spending all of this political capital sucking up to them and writing a bunch of checks his ass can't cash, because that's exactly what he's doing. That's what he did during the Air Canada strike. He did it in the platform. There's a reason why they pulled out a bunch of stuff in the platform that was anti-union. Why would he do that if there was no political payoff in doing it?
I tend to agree with Shannon, and I think it's less about the labor movement and more so about
the members,
consolidated groups that exist through at least some shared values. We have fewer and fewer of those going forward. And yes, and like my personal politics obviously agree with what labor has to say.
Your bias is already there. Your bias is noted.
No, it isn't.
The new orange apologist.
I'll say this to you.
The new orange apologist.
I'll say what I said to you on the Jesperson show. Maybe listen for once. Maybe listen. Maybe let someone complete a statement. I feel like it was advice you did not take. It was advice you did not take then. Probably advice you won't take now.
Probably not going to take it now. No.
Yeah. Then why would I dispense it then, Carter? Why would I waste my time dispensing it? Let's move it on to our first segment. Our first segment: Make Alberta Canada Again Forever. Let us talk about this petition. Carter, you and I got into it. I was speaking to Jesperson. You and I got into it on that show last week. I want to bring that conversation, or a version of, I'll remove myself as much as I can, to this show, because I want to talk about if the Forever Canada petition is working. And I want to talk about what does working mean and what does success mean for this petition. So just to bring everyone up to speed, maybe our non-Alberta listeners, or for those who are enjoying a normal summer, not recording a podcast, which, Carter, why are we doing this?
Who do we owe this to?
Why are we doing this?
I don't know why we're doing this.
I don't know. I don't think we owe it to anybody, to be honest.
There's nothing happening except Thomas Lukaszuk's little play toy.
So Thomas Lukaszuk started an organization, I believe it's called Forever Canada or Forever Canadian. I don't want to get it wrong, but I probably have.
Well, you did, but you took two choices at it. Which
there you go. So
one of them's wrong, at least.
If you would have listened, see previous note, I just said that.
I'm just
Carter
helping.
The question is, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? Elections Alberta approved this petition on June 30th, so July 1st. It allowed signature collection to begin on August 2nd, and Lukaszuk and this group have to collect, and I'm just going to set the facts out for folks, right? 293,000 some odd signatures by the date October 28th, 2025. So not a lot of time. Collection began on the 2nd of August. By the end of October, they need just under 300,000 signatures, i.e. 10% of Alberta's electorate. If it succeeds, the petition will go to the legislature and could trigger a referendum before the 2027 provincial election. The reason I bring all these facts up is that things, according to Thomas Lukaszuk, seem to be going well. There was a Canadian press profile that highlighted him up front and center with his beautiful T-shirt. Laugh as you much. As much as you'd like.
Profiles are going to get him there. Profiles are what he needs.
Seems like success is happening on the ground. So I want to actually set the table, because Carter, you and I have set the table before the signature collection happened with Corey.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in other places. Let me start with the most basic of questions. And I'll start with you, Carter. What does success look like here?
294,000 signatures is what success looks like. There is no middling success. You have put the question on the table. You have said we want to remain, and now you have to actually achieve that goal. 294,000 signatures. Did in the profile piece, Zain?
Yes,
maybe
yes, sir.
Shannon, you know. Did he happen to mention how many signatures they'd gathered to this point?
No, but I don't think they know that yet, because a lot of these elbows up boomers that are out there collecting them have them, neatly stored in their clipboards and haven't turned them in yet.
No. That doesn't count, because every one of these people who is collecting has to be an official collector, right? Like they're not just some Joe on the street walking around with a form trying to get signatures. They have to be authorized by the campaign in order to pick these up.
But what I'm saying is, like, people
that list
have
is known.
them.
That list is known.
I
can email them all tonight. I can email them all tonight to get those people to send me the numbers that they've collected to this point. And quite frankly, when we're doing campaigns, we often reach out to scrutineers. We often reach out to volunteers. In fact, I've got metrics for 28 different campaigns that I'm running right now on my computer that I update every single week to make sure that I'm on track. The question is, did Thomas Lukaszuk happen to mention how many fucking signatures he's gathered in the first month of this fucking campaign?
Okay. So success for you, Carter, looks like 294,000.
Winning.
And I think that, I mean, you and I, Carter, have both poo-pooed this in the past on this show. But I have revised my opinion a little bit since I went into some of the volunteer groups and I'm looking at the action on the ground. Basically, it's elbows up boomers on Facebook is what it is. And they have got P and V.
And IRL.
Yeah, they are ready to roll. They're sitting in their driveways. There were literally hundreds of people lined up in Lethbridge. Hundreds. Like old ass boomers standing in the 30-degree heat to sign a petition. It was wild.
294,000.
Yeah, I get that, Carter.
Okay, Shannon, thank you. I appreciate you setting kind of your flag and where it's at. Let me interject, because I can go one of two ways. But let me just go the most obvious way. Why are you so fucking cynical, Carter?
Because
like this is someone doing. This is a group. Take Lukaszuk out of it for a second.
What do you mean?
This is a.
What do you mean?
Is it about Lukaszuk? You sound like you have said in the past on different issues that doing something for the purpose of building organization and serving as a rallying cry is worth it. So unless this is another bit, I'm truly trying to understand why.
This is a dumbass idea. I mean, at the very least, do this for something that matters.
Yeah, the country matters, which is why I put my name to endorse it.
Explain. I'm genuinely trying to understand
the lineup of a couple dozen boomers in my neighborhood. You're going to capture all of the signatures in the first 60 days. Nothing. And people are going to be walking around shopping malls, getting kicked out, trying to get more signatures. It's just not going to happen. It's not cynicism. It's reality. And when it doesn't happen, it gets to be turned into a more negative story.
Let me okay, explain that to me. So I'll let you walk us through what your reality looks like in the coming months and days, right? So let me give you some stats, because you asked a question, and I'll tell you what the article said. They have 3,000 people that are volunteering. They've acknowledged the 300,000 number that they need to hit. They threw out a story saying, one person in Calgary gave them 8,000 signatures in a day. right? They've mentioned they've got 20 to 30 events per day on their website that are signature gathering events that they've had. So the answer to your question is no. They haven't told us how many signatures they've gotten to the 300,000, but these are some of the stats they have given. That all being said, Carter, I'm going to give you the opportunity to, because I'm genuinely curious here. I'm judging you a bit, but I'm willing to put that aside. Give me the Stephen Carter strategist case of what happens if Thomas Lukaszuk doesn't hit 300,000. You're saying that there's a bigger failure here than all the efforts combined if he doesn't hit the one metric of success that you've put out there.
I'm just trying to figure out how someone does 8,000 signatures in a day. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's what it's. I'm just giving you what the.
No,
what,
but
what,
this is all the spin. And when it
understand.
falls short, the opposition gets to say, "See, you couldn't even get 300,000 signatures for people to stay in Canada."
Sorry,
and
the opposition being
the group that wants to separate.
Okay.
Right now, then they get to have a go at it. Right. This is just playing straight into their hands.
With the reduced threshold, to be clear. Right?
With the reduced threshold, they get to raise. They get to aim for 167,000 signatures or some dumbass thing.
I think half of this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. The number is the number. The politics of this isn't going to change. As long as we are talking about separatism, we are losing. Period. End of story.
Okay. So let me clarify. Your story here is that the failure is that if Lukaszuk and co. don't get the number, you give the separatists a chance to have a go at it, which was always going to be the default case.
But they were always going to take a
They were always going to fail first. Let them fail. Don't go out. This was the problem with the strategy from the beginning. This is why we criticized the strategy from the beginning. Some of us have the internal fortitude to stay strong on the strategies that we articulate from the beginning and not flip over because she saw 300 people lined up in a parking lot of the fucking Sobeys. Right? Fucking grab some, internal strength, Shannon. This was a bad idea from the beginning.
Here's the thing. Once the horse is out of the barn, first of all, I think that it is up to all of us to, support efforts for Alberta to remain in Canada as a matter of principle. And I don't think there's any more important basically thing to articulate over this summer to push back against Danielle Smith's separatist misadventures. So that's the first piece. The second thing is what I have seen is analogous to some of the pushback that I saw during the CPP fight, but it's way bigger and way more. And it's summer and people are not paying attention. And yet here these people are paying attention. I really do believe that we have to grab onto anything that catches people's attention right now, if it's for quote unquote our side, and make common cause and push back. And that's where I do see enthusiasm. People are excited about this. And I am not in the business as a political has-been, but was once a politician, of getting in the way of people's good time. If people are enthusiastic about something that, roughly comports to your values, we should be excited about it. It's important for civil society. It's important for people's, sense of attachment. It's important for, just the ongoing subsistence of liberal democratic values for people to put their oar in the water and do some organizing in the old-fashioned way. And I don't care that it's a guy whose politics I profoundly dislike, or at least his historical politics. I really don't.
Are you talking about Thomas here?
I'm talking about Lukaszuk.
Yeah.
He was
not a
Minister
fan.
of Education when I was,
Yeah, I mean,
kind of a big deal.
He was a pretty anti-union guy. And I don't like his politics, but that doesn't matter at all. Wasn't a fan of Ed Stelmach's politics either. I was a New Democrat, right, when there were 4 of them. But I do think that this is important. I do think it's important for all Albertans of good faith and good conscience to push back against this separatist nonsense, because within the separatist idea bucket is a whole bunch of really, really revanchist, regressive bullshit that is rooted in racist tropes on her views on immigration, that is about privatizing public services. So every single time that we have thousands of Albertans, and I actually don't care if they meet the 294, I think if they even come close to what the halfer is, the 150 or whatever, the one that the actual separatists will be held to. I think if they come close to that,
it's 177, just so everyone's aware. Yeah.
So if they come close to that, that's more of a metric of success. I think, because I do not believe that those separatists will be able to organize a 2-car parade, right? So they won't come close to the 177.
Okay, but let us play a game, right? Let us say that Thomas Lukaszuk raises and gets 150,000 signatures. And our good friends, the crazy ass separatists, get themselves 58,000 signatures. If Danielle Smith wants to push this, you know what she does? She says
combines the two and says,
she says, look at this, we've met the threshold. Because ultimately the government can put whatever fucking question they want on any ballot. And this gives credence to the question being added to the fucking ballot.
If it wasn't this excuse, she would find it
in her province.
This is okay. This is exactly
talking, and now I'm getting talked over by both. Listen once in a while.
Shannon, the white man is speaking. Please,
sorry.
Please
oh
let
my
him.
God.
Good. Episode title, just the white man is speaking, all caps.
Damn
please.
right.
Yeah. Please, I just want that to be the episode title. Thank you. Carter hits actually on something interesting, and Shannon, you're going exactly where I want to go, which is, Carter, you at least seem to be implying that she's not going to find another excuse. All of this is with the assumption that we're getting a referendum question either way. Might as well organize and/or and I agree with the two of you that there's a slimmer chance that Lukaszuk hits the 300,000. Like, best of luck. I hope they do. But in the off chance that they do, that becomes the question. But at the very least, Carter, they're building an org apparatus for when the actual day comes and we need to be able to fight this question on its own merits.
A separate strategy, a separate organizational strategy than the one that we have in party politics. Like, this isn't going to be a standalone question. This is going to happen at the same time as a provincial election. We don't need a standalone organizational structure. We need an organizational structure that folds in to the political parties that exist.
What's to say that this can't fold into anything, that this can't be an apparatus that then says the best way to support the Canadian cause is to vote for New Democrats, for example, or some version of that? Like, I don't understand it. You're just making an assumption based out of nothing, that this won't have the ability to tie into something that's going to be paired with the general election in this province.
Write it down. See what happens. Write it down. This group is not going to come together.
I don't need to write shit down. I just said it to like thousands of people on a podcast. It's not going to happen.
Tens of thousands of people.
Okay,
let's try and be accurate.
But why? What's like? This is where I'm asking you, like, genuinely, why are you so cynical that this could actually amount to something? Like, even if they don't hit the mark, okay, but why are you cynical that this can plug into something?
Because Danielle Smith's approval rating is still in the 60s. Because we're fucked. Because
that's divorced from. So this cynicism.
Not divorced.
This is
not
cynicism.
Divorced. These things don't divorce. These things work hand in hand, and they're going
Danielle
to come
Smith's
together.
approvals in the 60s, so this group shouldn't organize. Like, what am I missing here, Carter? I'm not trying to be.
This group shouldn't be organizing. The group that's not organizing is the NDP in Alberta.
Let's talk about this, because I've got four strategy questions. Shannon, I'll let you react to this, but I want to set the table for our listeners in terms of where I want to go, and for the two of you. I've got four strategy questions here, or just topics I want to hit on that are interesting. The NDP is one of them, Carter, so you hit on it. I want to talk about their strategy here and how they think about their world and their universe. I use the term plug in. How do they plug into this? Do they plug into this? Do they do their own thing? What does their universe around this question need to look like? That's question one. I do want to talk for a second about Thomas Lukaszuk, because he is a person with the profile that is now getting a bigger profile a decade or so later from what you would think was his political high watermark. So I want to talk about that for half a second. I do want to talk about the premier strategy here. As you know, she's been wedged on the question of whether she'd sign this thing. I want to talk about that for a bit. And then finally, I want to talk about the rest of Canada. What sort of PR effort needs to happen to try to broadcast this petition to the rest of Canada? We are talking about Canada at its core, as much as we're talking about Alberta. Does it matter if the rest of the country knows about this? And does Alberta operate in the same way that Canada does, which is if people outside of your four walls are talking about it, you start to notice more? So I want to talk about those four strategy questions in some way. But before any of that, Shannon, I'll let you react to what Carter's put down thus far in my back and forth with him right now.
Well, at first, I agreed with Carter that I wasn't sure about this strategy, but it turns out people don't listen to us, and so they went forward and did it. Now that the horse is out of the barn and it is happening, I'm seeing some really, really interesting things happening on the ground. I'm seeing it in rural communities where you don't want this question filtered through a partisan lens. You actually do want some
You mean a New Democrat one in this case?
Yeah. Right? Like, because you're getting all kinds of old farmers that will absolutely sign the petition because they believe that Alberta should remain in Canada, and they're not convinced on, the separatist stuff that's coming out of the UCP, but they think, in the main, Conservatives exist in Edmonton to kind of send, Ottawa a message, right? But it's reaching those folks. And it's also giving hope and enthusiasm to the people who are, and because those people are within the NDP universe, whether they are in Edmonton or in Claresholm. And it's giving them something to do and feeling like they are doing something. And in this day and age, feeling like you're doing something, like you're getting any traction whatsoever, is very, very tough to find in politics. That feeling of common cause with one another. And so that's the gift that it gives. As for what the NDP should be doing in this, I do think that they should be not exactly hiding from these petition gathering, signature gathering exercises. I think that their MLAs should be registered canvassers and collecting signatures, because I just think it's a nice way to interact with your constituents. Like, it's low stakes, and the people, especially if you're talking to your already identified, supporters, leaners, or undecideds from the last election, then you've got something again for people to do and a clear thing to engage on. I don't think they need to be, carrying storming the barricades on this and, carrying it forward. I think it's fine that it's Lukaszuk. But now that it's happening, I think it's good for the NDP to have, again, that sense of connection to what their engaged constituents think about, their activist base, right? The base voters are different than the activist base. And the activist base is, believe me, is engaged on this in New Democrat land. I have seen them all over the groups, and I know I see them, and there's all these names, and I'm like, yeah, of course I know that person, I know that person. When you go into their Facebook groups, it's the activist base that has got something to do, and that is awesome.
Carter, the New Democrat strategy. Shannon makes an interesting point that Forever Canada's universe could be different. I'm not saying larger, but could be different than the NDP one. And should there be a way to plug those in ultimately, that this could be a strategy for the NDP where they are able to take advantage of that? A, do you buy that? And B, what do you think the NDP strategy should be more writ large? Now that we are past the August threshold, we're seeing some of the activity happen with Forever Canada. What should the NDP doing here?
I agree with Shannon.
Shot on both of those.
I agree with Shannon in terms of the infiltration component. I felt like the NDP should have infiltrated the Jyoti Gondek campaign in 2021, when there was an opportunity for them to pick up an awful lot of support, understand what the Calgary voters wanted, have voters and volunteers from across the city working with them. I think it would have made a difference in the subsequent provincial election that Rachel Notley lost, primarily in Calgary. I also think that they should integrate more into the civic elections here in 2025. I think that infiltration and co-opting of the of existing structures and strategies is great. They need to be doing it at every level.
Can you walk me through that? What does that mean? Like, I'm really curious what that means, because I have something in my head, which is people who wear official orange shirts, proverbially, right? Just jumping into every campaign and collecting all their data and taking it back to the mothership. That's what I'm thinking. What do you mean? No. What do you mean, Carter?
What I mean is that you go in and you join the campaign at a senior level because you're
any of these viable mayorals,
any of these campaigns. You join at a senior level. You integrate with the people who aren't of your tribe, and you get to know their names, you get to know who they are, you exchange telephone numbers, you build relationships, you build your social network structure.
Carter is talking about something different, though, than like this Forever Canadian thing is like activist base. It's not professionalized organizers. It's just like, it's literally elbows up boomers, right? And they're just like, give me something to do. What Carter's talking about is about the, no one is. Believe me, no one organizes my mother. My God, that woman. But
let me tell you something. I don't want to out this person, but this is a person in my network if I was given a list of 100 people randomly, I'd say who could be potentially organizing, this person would not be on the list.
Exactly.
I'd be like, what? No. Like, no, that's crazy. And what I got was a phone call from that person being like, will you sign this? I'm like, you're asking me? Like, not because I don't agree, but you're the one who's initiating the calls going this way? So I tend to agree with Shannon. There's something happening here, Carter. And maybe it's just anecdotal, and maybe we're too plugged into this universe. But I don't know if that's the case. I really don't.
But what Carter's talking about is a different thing, which is also important, and probably should happen at the professional levels.
And I
indulged
indulged him on that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I indulged him on that to kind of get a clear understanding of what he meant by infiltrate. He meant be on a campaign, but he used the term infiltrate. But that's fine. He likes to do that.
Let me just say that 8,000 signatures in a day, in a 24-hour day, means you're getting a signature every 10 seconds. If it's only 8 hours a day, you're getting a signature every 3 seconds. So
pretty good.
Very impressive from that gentleman or
Forever
woman.
Canada, forever signing.
He handed them in on one day, but had, taken a couple of weeks to
but that's not what was
them.
Said in the media. That's not what was said to us.
I didn't see the
I'm just noting it. Go ahead and talk your talking points, my friend.
Carter, walk me through more, though. Walk me through more, because I interrupted you. I asked for clarification on what infiltrate meant. Okay, you agree with how Forever Canada, their aperture could be different than the New Democrat one. So you agree with that point. What should the NDP strategy be beyond that? Should they be starting their own campaign? Should they be, walk me through this. Should they be setting up their own sort of version of this? Should they be piggyback simply on this? Should they push the timeline, push the narrative? Should they be trying to use their muscular abilities, communications list-wise, to push this? Give me some answers here. Like, what would you be doing?
Well, I'd be probably saying, okay, if there is no real structure, then let's provide some structure, and let's provide some structure through our own people, right? Let's assume that this ad hoc group can maybe get 150,000 signatures. Can the NDP generate 100,000 signatures within their own tribal subset using a actual organized structure, right? Where you've got captains and lieutenants and people who are marshaling larger groups. I mean, ultimately, politics is the largest pyramid scheme that you have, right? You're activating large groups of people in small groups. So you have to try and figure out, how do we get 100,000 signatures? Jump in, be a part of it. If you want to be a part of it, then fucking be a part of it.
Shannon, anything to add on the NDP side? I'll move to the next sort of strategic question. What other roles that we have not talked about, or tactics or strategies, should the New Democrats here in Alberta be playing on this particular file?
Well, I just, like I said before, I went to the Ralph Klein School of Politics. If you see a parade, get in front of it. This
isn't a parade.
Well,
It's not. It's going to be a
boomer,
flash in
Carter.
the pan.
Go online or on Facebook. You'll see what all your boomer friends are doing.
I've seen it. I've seen it now 6 or 7 times with lineups of up to 15 or 20 people.
But so I think that they need to find a way to plug in, but there are some logistical and legal ways that they can't, and that is fine. I actually think that being able to up some of that enthusiasm gap that you always get in the summer, that you always get midterm, using this, right, to kind of gin up your base, gin up your MLAs, their riding associations, get your volunteers blood pumping a little bit. I think it can only be good. And like I said, I have heard anecdotally of people signing this thing, out at rodeo grounds in southern Alberta and places like that. They're not they wouldn't do that if a New Democrat put the petition in front of their face. There's no question about that. But if it is seen that we are making common cause across a broad swath of Alberta society, that also can only be to the good. I think in order to broaden the appeal a little bit, because right now we are still, pretty urban, all of those things, and we have to be able. The party needs to be able to win in the small cities at the very minimum.
Next strategy question: what's Lukaszuk up to? Okay, he's clearly doing this thing, and I'm not saying that everyone has got an ulterior motive, but what's he up to is part A of the question. But part B is what could he be up to in the sense of what this profile may gather not this, I don't mean this profile, I mean that in a more general way, not this one Canadian press profile, that this profile could potentially be gathering him. Carter, what's he up to? What could this mean for him?
Well, I honestly think that he's doing this just because he believes that this is the right thing to be done. I do not think that he's got a political second act in him. I don't think he comes back and runs for the leadership of the nascent Alberta party that's going to have 2 MLAs and call themselves the Progressive Conservatives again. I don't think that his political world goes any further. There's no jobs available, and I still think that this is going to be a bit of a flash in the pan.
Shannon, what do you think here?
I don't know Thomas like Carter does. So, but from my vantage point, it looks like he just, saw a job and decided to go and get it done. And I think he likes to mix it up because people who have been in politics do enjoy mixing it up. That's why Ed Stelmach waded in. That's why Brian Mason waded in. Ray Martin even. There's all kinds of folks that have endorsed this thing and that they want to do something that's exciting and meaningful. So there may be people who get active in this thing who then see a role for themselves in politics. I don't know if that person is Thomas, and I don't know if it would be provincial or federal. These days, he worked hard on some federal Liberal campaigns as well. He would fit comfortably in that tent. And there's very few people that could win a Conservative seat in North Edmonton. He might be one of them. I don't know. I mean, I'm just totally speculating here, but
this is the reckless speculation part of the show. But there is a part B to this question, which is, Carter, Thomas has been a face. It's a person we are familiar with, if not know personally. It's a person that, if you're a keen political observer and have been for the last decade in Alberta, you obviously know the man. Outside of that, maybe not a lot of profile. It might be a reintroduction or, I think I remember him, sort of glance from a lot of people. So my question becomes, who needs to be next? Can this be the Thomas Lukaszuk show? I'm not saying it is, but can it be the Thomas Lukaszuk show? Or is there a face, a person, a archetype, a composite profile that you can think of that should be the next sort of PR spokesperson, external voice on this thing on behalf of this group? And I'll give both of you a shot at this. You don't have to have a name in mind, but I'm just kind of curious where your head's at in terms of strategy here.
Well, I think that, we saw with the Jyoti Gondek recall petition that Landon Johnson, I think was his name, that started up that petition. He basically remained the spokesperson, even though he didn't necessarily remain the person who was running most of the operations of the signature gathering. It was instead an exercise put together by Landon, taken over by others, but Landon remained the front. I think that Lukaszuk will remain the front. I don't think that taking
is that
it
good
away
strategy
from him,
though? Is that good strategy though? That's what
I
I'm
don't
trying
think
to
that
get at.
I don't think that taking it away from him is good strategy. I think that would be poor form.
Maybe not taking it away, but introducing more spokespeople. That's what I'm trying to get to. Shannon,
I think
give me your take here.
He opens up a really good permission structure for people, right? Because any of the sort of basically Chamber of Commerce conservatives who might have even voted UCP in 23 begrudgingly, in spite of some of Smith's wackier ideas. It allows them an outlet as well, and allows them a way to plug in. And, lefties like me who are old enough to remember him are like, okay, fine, right? And actually seems like a pretty nice guy. And so, we'll begrudgingly go along, folks, on the more progressive side. But people for whom we don't have a lot in common will also go along. He also has a steering committee. He's done this thing right. That is, kind of across the spectrum. He's soliciting a wide range of views on strategy and that kind of, and that is great, right? People from the progressive conservative sort of universe, people from the more federal conservative, further right kind of universe, people from the liberals, from New Democrats. So he's also, he's consulting widely, and so I think he's good for the moment. In particular. Because if he doesn't have any other partisan or other affiliation, he can just go at Smith in a more unrestrained way, and he's a good spokesperson for that too.
You brought up Smith. Let's talk about her. Shannon, I'll give you a take at this. Does she have a problem here with whether she'll sign this petition or not? Or is there an easy strategic out for her that she can kind of be done with this question? I'm not saying it's dogging her, but it is interesting that she was kind of mealy-mouthed about it and didn't have anything clear for someone who definitely knows how to get out of most situations. She wasn't really able to get out of this one. At least this is my reading. I'm curious what you think and what her strategy here should be as it relates to this ongoing petition.
Well, I don't know if she has a problem yet. That's the official opposition's job to make it a problem. And I don't think any one of her caucus members or she herself should be able to go out in public without being asked if they're going to sign this petition if they want to remain in Canada.
You think it's good, like soft tissue, for lack of a better term? Like you think it's something to work off?
It's something. I mean, like, look around us, right? In terms of the media environment and the animating issues, right? It's a good one. It's a wedge. You can cause problems within the caucus. You can cause, just irritation every time they want to stand up at a podium to announce, new funding for something all through the fall. You can just make life irritating for them. And they should be asked at every turn. Are you going to sign this thing? Why don't you want to remain in Canada? What's wrong with you? You don't just sea lion troll them into submission by the fall.
Yeah, Carter, good wedge.
Sure.
Good wedge.
Then she could become an official canvasser or whatever they're called, the people picking up the signatures, and just chase after Danielle Smith for the next 3 weeks. You got to sign this. You got to sign. I mean, it's not a bad strategy to get some attention, and attention's what he needs. He's disappeared again. Like, I just don't understand. I mean, sure, it's August, and we shouldn't be recording the podcast anyways. But
who's listening? Who's listening to this shit?
Yeah, I mean, this is where we're really, then she needs to get some attention. He needs to be on the front pages of some rags, and he just hasn't put himself in that position.
Carter, does the rest of Canada need to know about this? What's the strategy play for like national media, for the rest of the universe, Canadian universe, I should say, knowing about this, being engaged, dialing into Alberta, does that matter here? Or is this, as Shannon would say, local boomer, grassroots, self-organized enough? And we all clearly have different definitions of what enough means. See first half of the show. But what do you I'm trying to understand what your play would be for engaging the rest of the country on this file.
I wouldn't really worry too much about engaging the rest of the country. I think that when we were engaged as Albertans in the Quebec question, we poured some gasoline on that fire. I would just keep it, nice and local. I'm sure the national news networks and national newspapers will cover it when it flames out and doesn't get its 290,000 signatures.
Shannon, what do you think? What's the play for the rest of the country on this particular signature collection petition campaign?
I usually wish that they will stay out of it, kind of like I wish once I see American news coverage of Canada, I wish that they didn't write it because it's usually wrong and a caricature of us. And the same goes for some of these national unity questions when, Toronto CBC comes out to, the Innisfail Rodeo and goes on safari. Right. It has very strong sort of Pennsylvania diner vibes to it. I can't stand it. They go out and find like someone who's like a card carrying separatist, who's been like a spokesperson for this or the convoy movement. And they're like, here's a guy off the street. It's crazy making. So certainly national organizations should stay far, far away from it because there's nothing that might piss an Albertan off more than being told by somebody, quote unquote, out east how to think about these matters. But number two, it doesn't involve them at all, right?
You wouldn't be seeking it if you were on this campaign, Shannon. You wouldn't be seeking it either, right?
It's the last thing I would want. It'd be the kiss of death to have some, retired Central Canadian politician come in and tell us what's what on this topic of any stripe. Extremely unhelpful. And certainly Danielle Smith, if she has a political problem, she'll be waiting for something like that to happen.
We're going to leave that segment there, moving on to our over-under and our lightning round. Stephen Carter, it's almost your bedtime.
It is past my bedtime. I'm ready to go.
Which is why, Mr. Stephen Carter, we're going to start only 2 questions. Well, one of them will involve a bit of math for you.
Sure.
Carter, the number is 293,976. That is the number that Thomas Lukaszuk and co need. Carter, what number will they get?
114,346.
Wow. Shannon, Stephen Carter has actually had a 1,000 batting record on this. Every prediction he's made has been Midas touch, is what we call them.
Right.
Do you want to compete with that?
No, I don't know what the rules
I'm going
are.
to force you to. What's the number?
Oh, I'm going to say that they're in the 160, 170 range.
160 to 170. So neither of you think they're going to hit the 200 mark or even get close to 293?
No.
I'm going to be cautiously optimistic, but it's just, when you actually do the math, to Carter's point about how many signatures you have to get per minute in order to do it, it's tough. It's really tough.
8,000 a day. If you do 8,000 a day, you could be done very quickly.
Well, it's not actually even that. It's only 2,450 a day, but it gets harder when you go through each day.
Yeah.
Right? Each day gets more and more challenging. And at some point, you run through the people who are willing to line up at the Sobeys parking lot with Shannon Phillips.
No, I wasn't there. My mother was there.
Well, your mother was there.
Final question, Stephen Carter, recording at the end of August here. Which Canadian politician, any stripe, any order of government, has had the best summer? This was the summer of insert Canadian politician's name here.
Easy
Who
one.
was it for you? Was it easy one?
Easy
Lay it
one.
on me. Who is it and why?
Pierre Poilievre got a seat in the House of Commons. That's got to be the story of the summer. Sure, Mark Carney's out trying to negotiate world peace, but...
World peace, that we're calling it?
Yeah, that's what we're calling it.
Okay.
But instead, we got Pierre Poilievre winning in the easiest riding in Canada.
Okay, so Stephen Carter is titling his summer album The Summer of Pierre Poilievre. Shannon Phillips, it was a summer of who?
Wab Kinew, hands down. Not only does he remain the most popular premier in Canada, but in the context of a deteriorating fiscal picture and employment picture for everyone, theirs is not as bad as projected, which is pretty good. Number three, we know Port of Churchill now is going to be one of the first projects designated by the Carney government under C5. There's lots of new interest in Manitoba as a level of government that can do business with the federal government that also has many of the Indigenous components in place to be able to attract those new forms of investment. They got critical minerals coming out their ears, and Wab Kinew, they're going through a by-election in a super safe conservative seat right now. They're even running a little campaign there because they have the bandwidth to be able to do it. Wab Kinew is far and away the best political athlete in this country, and he set his province up for success over the course of this summer.
I'm not buying that. It didn't seem...
You're not buying it? Okay,
I think that Pierre Poilievre was a much stronger answer.
Okay, you do. Yeah, of course you would. We're going to leave it there. That's a wrap on episode 1882 of The Strategist. My name is Zain Velji. With me, as always, Stephen Carter, Shannon Phillips, and we shall see you next time.